Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone had a nice sleep last night. I hope that you woke up feeling nice and refreshed and relatively happy about something today. I woke up in a weirdly fantastic mood, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do a little art-based live stream and talk about what I consider to be Resident Evil's most criminally underused character, which is Donna Beneviento. No, I did not draw what you see on your screen in case you are unfamiliar with the games or the character. This is the actual art from the game itself. I believe it's one of the unlockable pieces of content that you can get, and I wanted to use it just so that you could get a sense of what she looks like, because as of right now I'm only in the sketchy layer stage of the art commission of her that I'm doing, so that means you're not going to be able to see as much detail. But yeah, Resident Evil 8 Village is the most recent of the Resident Evil games in the franchise, and Donna is the second of four lords that you meet. There are four lords all working under under Mother Miranda. Mother Miranda is a woman who has basically taken over this Eastern European village, decided to basically just make herself the goddess amongst the villagers there, and they've just kind of gone, okay, that's fair, cool. They worship her, they see her as like the one who makes it so their crops grow, the one that makes it so that they're healthy and their village is, succeeding and happy. They even mention at the beginning of the game that my God, I can't talk. Under Mother Miranda's care, the village has been doing great for a very long time, and it's only recently that all of a sudden lichens have appeared and other monsters, and they started just picking off the villagers one by one. Some of them think that their Mother Miranda has forsaken them, that she's given up, they've done something to piss her off, and that's why all of these horrible things are happening in the village. Other ones are like, oh no, we have to keep the faith. Maybe this is a test, just like with any religion. They did a great job showcasing what religion is like, that there's always some people who are like, no, it's probably just a test. Don't worry so much about it. Like, everything's going to be fine as long as we continue to believe and pray to her. They do like chants, ritual chants to her and everything to try to make her happy. But we see that she is, also a cruel mother. After a few incidents occur at the beginning of the game, Ethan Winters, who we're playing as, goes outside and sees in a field that she has been holding on to this guy, just a random villager. She's got him up by the neck, holding him above her, so she's very strong. She looks like a relatively normal woman, but she's managing to strong arm this grown man who's a farmer, and farmers are pretty fucking strong. I know, I grew up on a farm, and we have a tremendous upper body strength most of the time. And she just basically hangs him up on a stake, pretty much, for no reason, and laughs afterwards while he's begging her not to and begging her for help. So, not the nicest lady. And before, I believe, Mother Miranda came, some of the houses and the Castle Dimitrescu and stuff already existed, but not necessarily the lords within them. The reason we have the four lords in Resident Evil Village is because she decided that she needed to find a good vessel to infect with this mold that basically more or less, it kind of works sort of like how we just recently played Observer, where you could upload someone's consciousness, like their soul, into another body. And we were talking about the ethics of that kind of thing becoming reality one day. It's kind of like that. She's like, okay, it takes several years, but you can basically upload someone's soul into the mutamycete, the mold, and eventually it can manifest in someone's body. But the problem is it's so strong that it's just destroying people. Hence the monsters in the village. A lot of the monsters exist because she took random villagers, she experimented, she tried to infect them so that she could bring her dead daughter back to life, and all it did was rip them apart and turn them into creatures. But the four lords were the closest she ever got to a proper vessel. They were already strong. They already had something wrong with them. That's something that I think a lot of people gloss over, and it's something I find very interesting. And it's one of the reasons I struggle to sympathize with Mother Miranda. While I do feel sorry for her that she lost a child, I've seen what that does to people. It is absolutely horrific. No one ever deserves to go through that level of pain. the things she does as a result, there's no excuse for. So we have Lady D, the first boss that we meet in the game, and she, it's said, had some kind of blood illness from the start. And the Mutamycete somehow reacts really positively to the fact that she was already sick beforehand, and it gives her these powers where she ends up being like 9.5 feet tall and humanly strong. She can turn herself into this like dragon monster that we fight at the end of her chapter and everything. She got as close as possible to what Mother Miranda wanted, but she still was kind of imperfect. But throughout our course of exploring Lady D's castle, we get to learn a lot about her. There's all these journal pages throughout the castle that explain why she helped Mother Miranda with her experiments, that she felt like she should be the most loved of the lords, and why is she never perfect enough for Mother Miranda. We learn a lot about her as a human being, as well as her own experimentations, and how she feels about her 3 daughters, where the daughters came from, why she loves them so much. We learn so much, and even long after her chapter's over, when we're in Heisenberg's chapter, the second before the final chapter, before we, square up with Mother Miranda, we're still finding journal pages about Lady D that explain more and more about her. It's not till the end of the game that we even learn that she was born with some kind of like blood problem, and that had a direct effect on, what the Mutamycete did to her. So we learn a ton. Same with Mother Miranda herself. Pretty much the entire final chapter of the entire game, we're just going through this lab and learning every in and out of Mother Miranda from when she first had her baby until present day. But then you've got the other lords, and it's like, guys, what happened? Like, we get barely anything about them. We might get some information on their personal experimentations because Mother Miranda expects them all to basically do what she couldn't do, find a suitable vessel for her baby to come back to life in. So they're helping her, but we don't get much more than that. We get that, like, Salvatore Moreau seems to have had, like, potentially an intellectual disability or some kind of mental illness or something, because he's very immature for his age, especially in comparison to the other lords. He almost acts like a child. He's constantly asking Miranda for approval, and instead of calling her Mother Miranda, he just calls her Mama and stuff, which you usually don't hear from adults. And you just hear that he gets to experiment on people. That's about it. Heisenberg, you just kind of learn that he's doing all these experiments under the guise of, oh yeah, I'm helping Miranda so she doesn't suspect anything, but in reality, he hates her because she turned him into what he is now, and he's actually doing human experimentation because he's hoping to raise an army to defeat her, and he even asks Ethan if he'll join him in overthrowing Mother Miranda so that he can get his revenge. But again, you don't hear much about his past. But then you have poor Donna here, and Donna legitimately is the most underutilized of the characters, and it's sad because she is very, very interesting. You can tell just looking at her. She's interesting. So Donna's story that we actually get in the game is that she was from a wealthy family in the village. We're not really sure what they did. I don't believe they ever really discuss what they did, how they came into their money, other than that they were attached to one of the original people who founded the village. That's about it. But it's like what they did after that, we don't know. As we're traversing the grounds that her house is on, we see that there is a family cemetery out front, which is not unusual for rich families, especially historic rich families. And this is an Eastern European village. And we see that there's someone called Claudia who is buried on the grounds of the Beneviento house. We never learn who the fuck Claudia is. Obviously, she's important enough that there's like a shrine of dolls around her. There's flowers laid there. There's a legitimate treasure inside of her grave. So evidently she was seriously loved. But there's nothing in the house alluding to who she is. It's very weird. You'd think that there'd be like a journal page or something that we find explaining why she's that important. But all we have is the grave, and it just says 1987 to 1996. So my assumption is that she must be Donna's daughter. It's the only thing that really makes sense with that date line. But again, we learn so little about Donna throughout the story that I don't even know how old she's supposed to be. With Lady D, she's been in the castle for an extremely long time, since the early 1950s. We do learn that in her journal pages. So we're like, okay, she's been around for quite a bit. But is Donna a younger lord? Has she only been here since the 90s? Is she only supposed to be like 30-something years old when she dies? Or has she been there longer? And if she's been there longer, like Lady D has, then how did she end up having a daughter that was born in the 80s? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So, big questions there already. You'd think that, like I said, if this person is buried on the grounds and clearly died as a child, when we look at those dates, why don't we learn more about them? What we do learn about Donna is that as a child, she had severe mental illness. They never really explain what mental illness or what most of her symptoms were. Just that one of her symptoms is that it made it very difficult for her to open up and speak to people, like physically speak to them. But her father made dolls and puppets, and he realized that she spoke easier and expressed herself easier through them. So when she was a kid, he made her doll Angie, who you see her speaking throughout the gameplay. In the first scene with the four lords speaking to Mother Miranda about what they're going to do with Ethan now that he's entered the village, you see that Donna doesn't talk to anyone. She has a veil over her face. She doesn't, let anyone see her. She doesn't look at anyone else. She just interacts through Angie and makes her kind of walk around and talk to people. And after that, all we find out is at some point, Donna's parents died. What they died of, we don't know. How did they both die at seemingly the same time? We don't know. Kind of an important story detail there, or at least character detail, especially if you're going to have a character-heavy game. People want to know that stuff. We don't know how they died or when. They could have died when she was a kid, and they could have died when she was an adult. No idea. If they died when she was a kid, who took care of her? What happened to her? Because we see on the outskirts of her grounds, there is a groundskeeper who cared deeply for her and felt for her and wanted to take care of her after everything that happened. Let me look him up, actually, because that might have been, let's see, Beneviento groundskeeper. Let's see. Yeah, Luthier, because you have to find his key in order to find the Beneviento treasure. Let me see his letter, because this is another sad thing. Like, Luthier's letter about Donna is very important, not just towards finding the Beneviento treasure, but just in terms of her storyline and stuff. But if you don't know where to find his house, you miss out on one of the tiny scraps of lore you get about her. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, so one of the few things we have is, it says, subject name, Donna Beneviento, Cadu affinity, favorable, brain function, normal, although severe mental illness. Again, that's all we get is just severe mental illness. That could mean a lot. Is it a personality disorder? Does she have schizophrenia? What is it that makes it so hard for her to talk to people? Physically, she is no different from a regular human. However, she can secrete a signal-producing substance which controls plants infected by mutamycete. So basically, when she got infected, the ability that she obtained from the infection is that she's able to secrete something that communicates with the plants throughout her house, which we do find a book in her personal library about plants that exude something that is similar to giving you an acid trip. She can communicate with those plants and get them to make whoever is in her house that she views as a potential threat to start tripping balls. When humans absorb the pollen from a particular flower, she can cause them to have hallucinations. Now, this is a cool gameplay mechanic. It does make it so the Beneviento house is arguably the only section of the entire game that is true horror. It is terrifying at times because of the fact that you're just tripping balls and it's dark most of it. It's very effective for horror, but it stifles a lot of gameplay. You only get to look around the house for a minute before the hallucinations begin, and in that minute there's not much to find yet. You can like open some doors, look in some rooms, but you don't really get anything out of it. And it's very unfortunate because it's like, okay, again, this character seems really interesting. I want to know about the lady who can secrete something that talks to plants and makes people hallucinate, but you're not letting me learn. I think that it would have been a good idea for them to do something like Castle Dimitrescu, where you can spend like a solid hour going through the entire castle, reading some lore, learning what you can before you kill one of the daughters and Lady D starts to actively pursue you. You get a decent chance to go through the house and learn. I understand when Ethan's hallucinating, they might not have wanted him to sit there reading journal entries because it's like, that doesn't seem very likely. You wouldn't even know if you could trust what he's reading. Fair. But give me a chance to read it before then, especially since as soon as you kill each lord, you're kicked out of their house and can't go back in. So the rest says, however, she is mentally underdeveloped and has divided her cadeau among her dolls in order to control them from a distance. An unfit vessel for Ava. That's one of the only things we get to learn about her. Which sucks. Even when it comes to the Shadows of Rose DLC, we really get nothing. I'm trying to see if there were any other letters for her because it really is sad that we don't learn much. Letters. Let's see. Yep, that's that same one. Files. Yeah, nothing really. Basically nothing about her. That's like one of the strongest pieces we get, apart from Luthier being like, I feel bad for her, I want to take care of her now that her parents have died. But again, based on just now that her parents have died, I want to take care of her because she's so mentally ill. They could have died when she's an adult already. There's no telling what happened. So it's like, I don't know at what point she got mentally worse from losing her parents. And then you've got Angie, and it's like, is Angie what she wishes she could be? Is Angie her true personality? We only get to hear Donna speak once, and it's when she tells Ethan he can't leave, she can't let him, seemingly because she doesn't want to be alone. And then she sets the dolls on him. So it's frustrating. And one of the main hallucinations that Ethan experiences that's extra terrifying in her section is the fetus monster. It's this huge fetus thing with like big legs that look like you're in active labor on the back of it, and it pursues you, and if it catches you, it eats you. It's absolutely fucking horrifying. I hate that thing. And it's weird because, again, that's not explained. Like, you get phone calls from, a hallucination of Mia toward Ethan. So a lot of people were like, oh, he's so worried about his daughter, and he's so afraid of what these lords are going to do to her that he's hallucinating that the worst possible thing has happened to his baby, and that's what the fetus is. But then I'm like, is that what it is? Or is it a hallucination of Donna's own making? And the reason she chose a fetus is because Claudia is her child who died at like 10 years old or so, and she misses her so severely that she has this horrible creature because she can't really, she has a warped perception of reality, especially if she's talking through a creepy doll and stuff. So it's like, is that her way of dealing with it? That the horrors of losing her child manifested this hallucination of a child that is horrifying? I don't know. It's hard to say. It would be interesting to know that. But yeah, by the time you're done with the fetus monster and you meet Angie the second time, you meet Donna for real the first time. It's the only time, like I said, that she ever talks to you throughout the entire game. You play hide and seek with Angie, and then Donna's fucking dead immediately afterward, and you never learn anything else about her apart from the fact that Mother Miranda thought she was an unfit vessel for her child. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, I want to know more about Doll Lady. She's interesting. What happened with her kid? You see a lot of doll making equipment in the house, but also arguably you could say that when you see the Mia mannequin for the first time, it looks like there's a lot of stuff for a like practitioner, like a doctor. And I'm like, was Donna the village doctor? Because some of the equipment you see is full on medical equipment and is not equipment for making dolls. So I'm like, just trying to piece things together. I'm like, all I can gauge is that maybe, I could be totally wrong, I don't know. When Donna was alive, she was severely mentally ill. She could only speak through her dolls. She carried on her father's legacy of making dolls, but all of them look more or less the same. They're not as unique as the ones her father made. Angie looks nothing like the other dolls in the house. Most of them have same face syndrome. My assumption is they all look the same because that's what her 10-year-old daughter looked like before she died. So she just keeps creating her own daughter over and over and over again, and she can't help it. And that maybe she was a doctor of some kind when she was not yet infected by the mold. And after becoming infected, instead of carrying on that tradition of being a kindly doctor and helping people, she used her medical knowledge to, I don't know, make the creepy mannequins and stuff maybe that show up in Shadows of Rose. I don't know. Again, we learn very little, but she's still interesting. I hope one day we learn more about her. I think it would be so cool if we're playing as Rose Winters in the next game to have them come back. We saw in Shadows of Rose that like every 16 years or so, you can come back to life in a similar body to the one that you died in, because we saw Duke, he was a little messed up, his memories were all warped, he kind of attached to others. It'd be interesting if we get some semblance of the other lords again. But this, unfortunately, I can't work on it much on the stream because I'm having severe lag right now, bad lagging issues on my cursor, and it makes it hard to draw, but I can show you what I'm working on. So this is a commission of Donna Beneviento. I was given a lot of creative freedom with it, but one of the reasons I'm replaying the game right now and rethinking about all this is because he wants the waterfall outside her house to be the background, not the house itself, just the waterfall and the mountain, and the only way you can get that is taking a screenshot of the game. I tried looking online. There are no images of just the waterfall. But he wanted her to have like a marijuana cigarette in her hand, and he wanted Angie with her, but he wanted Angie to be an actual human, not a doll. Like she finally got to have a real child again between the ages of like 18 and 20, because she looks in doll form like she's supposed to be pretty young. So I decided to give her her veil. But since she's with Angie right now, she doesn't feel like she has to hide, so the veil is lifted over her head. She's not unhappy, but she's very serious, like she usually is. In her hand, I've got, I know it's a sketchy layer, it's hard to tell, but her little marijuana cigarette right there. And her usual dress. Something really cool about when you're doing an art commission for a pre-existing character like this, like a fan art commission, is the fact that you have to look at the character design drawings that they did, like I said, like this one, and you start noticing things you never had a chance to notice in game. So you notice these little details that you can't see because Donna's usually very far away from the player. She stayed very childlike. You know how I said in that letter, Miranda said something about her being kind of like mentally stunted and stuff. She has Mary Janes on. Mary Janes are typically associated with two things, either little girls, literal children, and dolls. That's one of those things you don't really have a chance to look at when you're in the game because she pops in so quickly and then disappears as quickly as she came, or she's sitting down and her shoes are covered. But yeah, she has Mary Jane's shoes on. Childlike or doll-like shoes. So I made sure to add that in the commission sketch. So there's her veil, there's her face, there's her cigarette, her marijuana cigarette. I kept on going back and forth between if I wanted to put the spore over her eye or not, but I was like, if she's with Angie, she's probably trying to be the best possible version of herself so that she'll feel happy, because she is very self-conscious about it. So she probably made some kind of hallucination veil that made it so it doesn't show up. She has very just kind of relaxed body language, but also a little bit tense. Like her shoulders are kind of up because I think she's always a little bit on edge. She's always wondering when something's going to happen. Is something bad coming? So even when she's at rest like this, she's a little bit anxious. And then, of course, I've got her little Mary Jane shoes. Angie, because Angie is literally a doll and I have to turn her into a human, she was a lot more difficult to make a sketch of. So I tried to look at the doll, and what I gauged is, let's get Angie pulled up here. So her eyes are very wide set and they're very big. So the first thing I did was look for references of actresses and people with wide set and large eyes. So I used like Anya Taylor-Joy and stuff, and Amanda Seyfried and stuff as my inspiration for it, and then a few other just random people from the internet. And I came up with a really cute smiley face. I wanted her to look happy because even though she's malevolent and she's dangerous, Angie at heart is basically Donna's inner child. She's very playful, she's very exciting, she's giggling all the time. So I wanted to make her smiling and wide-eyed and excited. So that's what I've done. I've got her little veil, I've got her necklace as usual, and I have her in her little wedding dress, just like she has in the game. Just like with Donna, it was kind of fun. You don't really get a chance to get all the details of Angie when you're playing the game and you're trying to like run around and find her, but her entire dress is made of various types of lace. So I'm going to get to have a lot of fun in the inking stage of this process, doing the lace work on her dress, and I got a better chance to see what her shoes look like. She has little brown like silky shoes with this beautiful like beadwork on it, these white beaded flower designs, which is really cute because it's a nod to Donna in a way. Like obviously her father, when he made Angie, can't have known what Donna was going to be able to do one day, but maybe from the start she really liked flowers. So yeah, this is what Angie's shoes look like. There's little flowers, and it kind of, like I said, relates to Donna and how she can talk to hallucinogenic flowers. We've got the dress still kind of tattered and worn. Down here is going to be cloth. Anything that's not that part is going to be made of lace. The only part of her sketch I'm going to be working on today, because I'm not 100% happy, is I want to keep the excited body language like this, but I don't like her shoulders. I think her neck's a little too long and her shoulders are down a little too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise her shoulders up so that she looks extra excited, like she's like, ee, and can't wait for whatever is about to happen. So instead of right there, they're going to be more, can I even do this? Let me grab my pen here. It's really laggy, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm going to kind of bring them up. Oh my God, it's not going to let me do anything. Nope, I can't. It won't let me. It's going to be up here more or less instead. So that's going to make her look a little less weird, because I sketched her a couple days ago and I kept going, I love her little face. I love her dress, I love her veil, I love her shoes. I don't know what I don't love about her body, because I want to keep that same excitable body language. It was the shoulders. That's what the problem was. I need to raise her shoulders. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it so far. They're going to be a lot more centered than they currently are. They may or may not end up a little more close up than they currently are. And then, like I said, in the background of the image, we are going to have the waterfall that's out in front of the Beneviento house. And it's just going to be pretty. It's a very fun commission. I enjoy getting a chance to do commissions on characters that are like Donna, that don't have as strong a storyline as some other ones, so that I can take a chance to try to get to know more of their lore. But yeah, since I have really bad lag while live streaming right now, unfortunately I can't work on this any further until I'm done. So I'm going to have to cut it short here, but hopefully you enjoyed this little talk on Donna Beneviento, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing me do a little share of my sketch so far on this art commission. I'm enjoying it a lot. I can't wait to finish it. I will be on my Twitch tonight at 9:30 Eastern time. I do live in Pennsylvania, so adjust your clocks accordingly. I'm thinking of playing Borderlands 2. It's one of my favorite games on the entire planet. I know it's a little bit different from my usual spooky content, but I played a lot of spooky games lately, and I think that our brains need a little break before I return to them. After I'm done with Borderlands 2, or maybe in between chapters of Borderlands 2, I do want to get every possible ending for Layers of Fear and Layers of Fear 2. I've gotten one ending for Layers of Fear, two endings for Layers of Fear 2. And I think I'm going to continue to work on Resident Evil Village, trying to get as many trophies as I can. So it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but we still have fun on the stream. And yeah, we'll see from there. But again, hope that you enjoyed this little mini stream, and I hope I see all of you on the stream